Oh, guys, welcome to Friday. It is the 10th of July. Welcome to the second half of the year. Today, I am helping people turn their business ideas into profitable businesses. Why should you trust me? Well, I'm just some guy in Melbourne who was fortunate to be able to do just that with nothing less than an idea and some ambition. All right, we have LaVerge and V3 joining. What's up, V3? Bro, what's happening, man? So, as usual, guys, one of you that stays to the end will be able to win between 50 to $100, whatever my personal brand team has said you'll win. And I'm excited about this one. I think a lot of people, they have ideas. I literally got a DM today from a friend of mine that was on one of the dating shows that we were hosting 3 years ago. And he was like, hey, man, hope you're well. He wants to start an AI agency, right? Name Yohaswaran. Do we know each other, Maji? I'm not sure if we know each other. If we do, what's up? So, and he was like, yeah, let's start an AI agency. And I was like, okay. A lot of people want to try business models that are trending, and it doesn't mean that they shouldn't. They should. You should try everything. But oftentimes we have a batch of skills that give us advantages for certain things. I realized by the time I was 11, 12, 13, all right, I'm at least above average in speaking to people. I was a lot more introverted, but I'm at least above average in speaking to people. So by 17, 18, I was like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to triple down on this skill set. A lot of people, what they do is they try to be like a 7 out of 10 across a bunch of skills. Whereas you should become a skill that you're already a 7 out of 10 at. Make that a 9 out of 10, like ASAP, and then higher for the other skills that you're not naturally good at. Albert said, hello. V3 said, please me, bro. Hey, stay to the end. Stay to the end. Participate, and you might win, man. Okay, Albert said, how can I use my communication skills? Well, what interests you? What interests you? For example, I had a friend of mine in my early 20s, and he was a finance guy. He would get really high grades. He was, I think, the Ducks in his high school. The Ducks is like the person that gets the best results. But he really, really liked the psychology of dating. So for him, he perhaps should have used his communication skills, not for finance, but for maybe being like a dating coach. And then I had this other friend, and this other friend was like a nurse. He's still a friend of mine to this day. And he was really, really good at, like being a nurse, being caring of people, but he's actually really, really good in the gym. He had a great physique. And when he would work out in the gym, people would like follow him and like his stuff. So perhaps what he should have done is 10x his focus on his gym stuff, because he has naturally good genetics. I think he was Ghanaian or something. Shout out to my West Africans. And when he was really putting in work in the gym, it would show. He actually got me, like I'm not right now, but when I was like at my most ripped stage, when I was like 20, 21, like in COVID, he actually gave me a plan. He's like, you got to eat 10 eggs a day, do X, Y, and Z. I followed his plan. Within like 6 weeks, I was like super jacked. Like at least 5 to 10 more kilograms of just pure muscle than I'd had before. What's up, Evie? So that is a way not to just use your communication skills, but more importantly, to play into your strengths. A lot of people don't take time to be like, okay, what would my detractors say is a strength of mine? For me, my detractors can be like, I hate Dami, he's annoying, he's this, he's that, and the third, but damn, that guy's convincing. Damn, he's good at talking. My ops will say that. There's something in there for me. Maybe I should triple down on something that devolves around communication, right? So anyway, guys, as Albin will remind you, one of you will win if you stay to the end, but the goal is to let me know the skills that you think you have, and I'll give you ideas on how to turn them into money, into dollar signs. And this is coming from someone that's had multiple businesses. I've had nightclubs, cleaning businesses. I've had way more failed businesses than successful ones. I've had YouTube channels. I've had YouTube automation channels. I've had AI projects. I've had crypto projects. I've had NFT projects. Albin said, how about empathy? Great question. How do you use empathy to make money? Well, how do you deploy that empathy? Are you good at listening to people? Are you good at giving people reassurance? Are you good at being a voice for people? There's different demonstrations of empathy. For example, you could be a social entrepreneur. You could be a mayor. I've helped the ex-mayor of Werribee get reelected 5 to 6 years ago. We did the marketing for her campaign, right? That's an example of a social entrepreneur. Another form of entrepreneurship is you could be an advocate online. Then you could do a GoFundMe, or you can do some sort of landing page where people are paying you to go and deliver a service. Mr. Beast is largely an entrepreneur, like a capitalist via YouTube, but he also gives back to the community, starting a foundation. There's so many ways to deploy money. There's a guy I met at a networking event about 2-3 weeks ago, awesome guy. And one of my account managers booked him. What's up, Ife? Ife said, good to be back. It's good to have you back, family. And this guy's a legend. And he came in and he's like, basically his business model is helping people solve problems across the board, right? So that's his strength. So that's his use of empathy. And he's coming to me to help market that skill set. So for him, it's essentially helping people resolve very specific problems. Maybe it's a specific kind of divorce. Maybe it's a specific legal problem. And he's essentially an advanced mediator. That's his key skill set. So that's his use of empathy. So there's so many skills that we have that you really need to pinpoint. And then you could even ask ChatGPT, hey, what are 5 ways in which I can use this skill set in this marketplace, at this age, in this part of the world? What's something that I'm not thinking of that others can see me monetizing? What was something that my detractor would compliment me on ChatGPT based on how well you know me? ChatGPT says I have an unusual high sense of agency. Like when I think of an idea, within 3 minutes, I'm and they said that's also my weakness. I can sometimes have so many ideas that maybe I don't capitalize on all of them. But I'm so used to just 2 or 3 of those ideas hitting and making money that it's something that hasn't failed me yet. So you can actually ask ChatGPT, if you've spoken to it for the last 2-3 years, what is my best strength that I could make money from? That's what I would do if I was you guys. So as Albin says, stay to the end and one of you will win $50. You just interact with the live. What's up, Kritika? Haven't seen you since the fashion show. Albin said, how about negotiating? Because Albin, that's in your genes, man. You Eastern European guys, you guys are good at negotiating, man. Very good at negotiating. I just renewed a lease in a new area. And the lady was Eastern European. And it was funny because she's actually the one that was my property manager for this property. And she wasn't budging on a certain price. And I was like, look, I'll be your most expensive tenant. Just like, and it's funny because no matter how much back and forth and arguments that we have, professional, of course, she ended up being the property manager at the new property. It's like we couldn't escape each other, right? So it's in your blood, Albert. I don't know, you Eastern Europeans, you guys are crazy negotiators. All right. So there's many, many ways to monetize the skill that you have. But you have to look at the trait first, right? So a lot of people, for example, a basic way to do this is to look at the 16 personalities, right? 16 personalities test. You can be an ENFJ, ISTP. You might be more of a structural thinker. You might be more, what's up, 1, 1, 3, 5, 7, da da da. You might be able to see that you're more of a protagonist personality. That's an ENFJ. So if you're an ENFJ, well, you're probably someone that thinks that they're a main character. So what traits would be associated with the main character? Probably a bit more narcissistic than average. By the way, it's okay. It's important to know your good and bad traits because the bad traits will also help you make money within a container. So for example, say you're more narcissistic than average. Well, potentially you should look into entertainment. Potentially you should look into content. Potentially you should look into sales. But say you're logical and you're very, very introverted, but you're very, very good at maths. Potentially look into coding. Potentially you should look into, being a COO. So there's an intrapreneur and an entrepreneur. Bear with me, I need to blow my nose. An intrapreneur, or rather an entrepreneur, is the individual that takes the risks, starts the business, starts the project. They start the capital. They start with or without capital. They recruit people. They get people in the cause. Oftentimes they'll own 100% of the business, or they'll own 80%, 90%, 70%, 50%, whatever. But an intrapreneur says, hey, look, you're taking the risk. You're taking the risk. I'm coming in to the momentum that you already have. And I want to use my skill set to add to a piece of it. Instead of I want to be fully responsible for the success of this. So an intrapreneur is actually a great way if you're someone that isn't like the main character, personality type, but someone that likes something that has some motion that you can step into, that's already working. By the way, I'm involved in projects where I'm not the entrepreneur. We're looking to acquire an agency this quarter. They've started their own business. So for their own company, I'm an entrepreneur. But if I roll them up under my own business, then I'm an entrepreneur, right? So accountants, for example, there's something called the digit index ratio. What's up, Maria? Good to see you. So there's something called the digit index ratio, right? So this fourth finger, when you're in utero, so in your mom's tummy, this fourth finger is synonymous with higher testosterone. This second finger is synonymous with estrogen. So what you'll find is that entrepreneurs and people that go to jail, I'm using massive generalities, and you can look this up, digit index ratio. People that go to jail and entrepreneurs tend to have longer, and you can even see with my hands, and by the way, this doesn't mean everyone, if you have a shorter fourth finger, doesn't mean you should be an entrepreneur. This is just biology, where biology and genetics meet capitalism, right? You can see that my fourth finger, it's not super longer, but it's obviously longer than my second finger. So if you go to people, so entrepreneurs tend to have higher testosterone, male and female, than, for example, accountants. So accountants, Alvin said, you know too much. I've been around the block, man. I've been around the block, and I failed a lot. So when you fail a lot, you learn a lot, out of desperation, right? So when me, and this is maybe me being like a bit too much of like a sociological autist, right? What's up, John? I hope you're well. It's been a hot minute. So if I'm trying to hire like a COO, which I'm not right now, we need to get to 7 figures a month for that. Say I get to a COO and I'm 27. I'm going to interview the guy. We're going to talk. I want to meet up in person, not just to feel his energy. I want to look at his hands. I want to look at his dominant hand, and I want to figure out, is his fourth finger longer than the second finger? It doesn't mean I'm not going to hire him if his fourth finger is longer. But I'm generally kind of looking at, okay, is there a cluster of patterns that I can use? Right? I'll give you another cheat code. If someone's tone fluctuates a lot, they're higher on manipulation. They have by the way, my tone fluctuates a lot, right? But I'm not going to lie about that. I am on average higher than the average human on manipulation. But that's me being honest with you guys, right? If someone's like, hi, that person's a manipulative motherfucker. So like, if you listen to Jordan Belfort's Cell, The Wolf of Wall Street, if you study his course, the straight line system, and you're not the reasonable man. Even Jordan Belfort. A lot of these guys, right? Even Alex Hormozy. So anyway, traits. You have to figure out where is a cluster of traits that you have. And don't be embarrassed about them. You need to embrace them fully, the good and bad of them, so you can figure out what occupation can potentially align with that. And I'll go on a rant about IQ and traits in a second, but I'll answer some of your questions. Okay, so the next question was how to use your confidence. So how to use your confidence to get a business off the ground? Well, obviously it depends on the business. If you're in a traditional service business, well, everything is confidence. When you have 0 clients, all you have is desperation and conviction. What I did when I started out is I'll say, look, I just rock up to the stores. I'd rock up to the restaurant. Hey, my name's Dami. I own a social media company. It wasn't even smooth. It was not smooth. But when you're starting out, you don't have to be smooth. You need volume. You need to get out there and just meet a ton of people. Hey, this is what I'm doing. Like, I remember when I was in multi-level marketing, me and my upline and now one of my closest friends, Merlin, we would go to the Werribee Plaza and we'd what we call, I forgot the term, I think it was called tap rooting. But it's basically where you go up to random people and you tell them about an opportunity. It's very network marketing style, but you go up to them and tell them about a business opportunity, right? So we go up to them. I was 18, 19 at the time, right? And I'll be like, oh, hey, look, what's your name? I love you. Actually, it was start. In fact, you learn how to peek. It was called peeking. It was called peeking. Hey, I love your shoes. Thank you. Yeah, where'd you get the shoes from? Cool. Are you from the area? By the way, my name is Dami. You learn how to open up conversations with complete strangers. And it was out of my comfort zone. You guys, I know this sounds hard to believe. Naturally, I'm an introvert. It doesn't mean that I don't have energy for people. Like, I've always been able to talk to people since I was young. But I get majority of my intense work done, and I'm most creative when I'm by myself, listening to Future with a donut by myself. Like, that's when I'm most creative. But peeking taught me how to open up a conversation. Hey, look, you know, you look like someone that's a big thinker. Do you work around here? Wow, so you're 23, you're dressed really well, and you're a big thinker. Are you looking to start your own business? You're not? Okay, interesting. So I thought someone with that kind of personality, actually I am, but 5 years from now. Okay, got it. So you want to start your own business in 5 years? Interesting. What kind of business? Like an online, if I could show you an online business that could potentially set you up for 5 years, would that be so? Like you learn how to do that with strangers. That's what confidence does. But confidence, a lot of people think it starts with, like, yes, there is a genetic element to confidence. If you have two confident parents, then you're going to mimetic desire, you're going to copy what you've seen. But if you didn't have it like me, and you have two introverted parents that don't even want you to be in business, you go out there, you start talking to people. Exposure therapy, right? Aoife said reps on reps on reps. Tell me about it. I'm still doing reps. I'm still doing reps. My appointment setters, to be honest, didn't really perform today. They got, let me see what they got to today. They got to 57 appointments. And we just hired another 6 to 9 setters this week. We should be at 150. I'm not happy about that output. But how blessed to where a bad day is 57 sets. Reps on reps on reps on reps. I'm building so much. I'm coding 3 to 6 hours a day right now, just so we can get better, fast feedback loops for my setters to understand, hey, it's okay to fail, but I need you to fail faster. I want to see 200 dials. Why are we only settling for 100 reps? Alvin said, and that's how I met your mother, kids. You're a funny guy, man. You watch too much TV, Alvin. You're funny. Thoughts on emotional intelligence. Look, everyone in Gen Z is like, I've got emotional intelligence. Especially, actually, millennials began this bullshit. Millennials. The millennials began all this, man. And by the way, I respect Obama, but it was that Obama generation of people in their 20s. I was 8 when Obama was like first president, right? So actually it skipped my generation. But it began with the millennials. And what I mean by this is millennials started saying, oh, emotional intelligence, but like, essentially emotional intelligence is street smarts. Distilled, right? So it's not for the most part that you come out of the womb with emotional intelligence. It's you get it through exposure therapy. I have officially, as of this week, I think 2 people resigned. Oh, actually, we had to fire 2 people. Just over 90 people. I'm not gonna lie, I'm gonna spend at least 200K on staff this month. I'm a bit scared, but I'm excited. Because like we're gonna be also relatively profitable if things keep going well this month. Why do I mention that? Exposure therapy. 2 years ago, we would do that in a year. Now we spend it in a month on salaries. Scary, right? But exposure therapy. So emotional intelligence. Today, I have had the equivalent of difficult conversations that I would have had in a month. Scratch that. In 3 months last year. In a day. Right? So, when it comes to emotional intelligence, it's a muscle. It's a muscle. Our storytelling framework when it comes to convincing people is agree. There's 3 types of storytelling. There's hypothetical, there's similar identity, and then there's a third one, which is anecdotal. The third one is new worldview presented. The fourth one is the option to buy into a new worldview. I'm actually teaching university students about this on Monday. I'm going to invite to a university to speak about this online, about this specific topic. Exposure therapy, right? So what happens is when I'm in a disagreement with a client and they're like yelling at me and they're like, I demand a refund. I'm going to call my bank. I'm like, look, I completely agree. And by the way, you should be upset as well. Imagine someone took $4,000 out of your account. I'll be so stressed. I wanted to use that for salaries. I wanted to use that for staff. Oh, I'm so angry. Are you angry? You know what? You remind me of someone. You remind me of one of my clients. It was earlier this year. They were like, you know what? I'm very angry, Dami. You took $4,000 out of my account. And then I was like, you know what? You should be angry, but let me show you the statement of work that you signed. You said you wanted $4,000 taken out of your account every time this month. Now, if anything, I think you're quite a reasonable person. I think you're someone that likes to respect agreements. I think you're someone that wants the result. And I think you're a little bit stressed because right now you haven't closed the client. Would that be correct? By the way, I'd be stressed as well. 3 years ago, I was the only, last year, I was the only salesperson for my company. Every time I get a direct debit from Netflix, I'd get upset. Because I'm like, that $30 is for ChatGPT. Fuck. I only got $50 left in my account. And I had a company that was doing well. But what I realized was I needed to regulate and I needed to focus on the North Star, which was getting more clients. And if I was going to get more clients and I was only focused on that and I was delegating my energy and my focus and my attention to that one thing, it was going to be inevitable for me to win. And do you know what happened? That client ended up making their first 100K month. So whilst you're frustrated, let's do this instead. Option to buy into a new worldview. Let's catch up once every 2 weeks until you close your first client. And then once that's done, then we can talk about the money stuff. And the conversation will be different. It won't be, you charge me. It will be, how can we turn this to 200K a month? Would that be okay with you? Is that fair enough? So like, that is a pattern. Emotional intelligence is essentially a pattern of reframe. That's all it is. But you can't reframe if you haven't practiced listening and saying, wow, really? I can't believe that. That doesn't solve much. You're doing half of it. You're listening. But emotional intelligence is being able to reach into someone's emotional center and be able to relieve them of pain. That's really emotional intelligence. Otherwise, you're just listening. You're not really solving anyone's problem. Ife said, that's the craziest exposure therapy you did. I'm still doing it. I'm 26, bro. I don't know everything. All I can share is what I've learned. And what I've learned so far has served me. Perhaps it can serve you as well. What's up, Clarissa? What's up, Nami? Nami, my bad. I'll get back to you. I did see your WhatsApp message. My apologies. What's up, Corey? What's up, Yadu? What's up, Clarissa? What's up, official Uncle Bob? All right. Is consistency the best skill you can have? It's a good question. I'd say, you know what's interesting? I could say yes, but really it's never giving up. Here's why. Say 20, and this is going to sound very scary because a lot of us on this call are 20-something or 30-something. Say you have to look at 20 years. Say you're 25 watching this. 25, 20 years later, you'll be 45, okay? Say it took you 20 years to make it. Oh my gosh, it took me 20 years to make it. What the fuck? Like, I need to get rich now, or I need to fix this now. Or okay. You're going to be 45 anyway. You're going to be 45 anyway. And with our aging population in Australia, if you're 45, you're going to probably have at least another 45, well, with Elon, maybe 50 years to live, at least. So really, you solved something still relatively early. And you know what's interesting? When you make it by 45 per se, for this example, you might even get bored. Because you're going to be like, I spent the last 20 years trying to save $1 million in the bank. Now I can afford my food, I can afford my rent, I can travel, got a wife and kids. What's next? You might get bored. So like, I'm not saying don't speed up. I'm not saying don't not rush. But I'm also giving perspective around the consistency argument. I think the real argument is never give up. Because you can be consistent, but that doesn't promise that within 3 months you'll make it 10K a month. That doesn't promise that within a year you'll make 10K a month. That doesn't promise in 3 years, or 5 years, or 7 years. By the way, you probably will do it because of how advantageous AI is and all these other things. But it doesn't guarantee it. But if you never give up, put me in a room with someone else that has an agency that has the same revenue as me. And it's not that they are things that they know that I wouldn't. It's just that I believe that I would stay in the arena of a very difficult business model longer than them. I've been doing this for 7 years. I've seen so many agency people come and go and come and go, and an AI agency and an e-commerce agency and a Shopify store. I'm still here. You have to have the same mindset of I'll never give up. Consistency is a prerequisite, but not giving up is definitely like the actual thing. That's the actual thing. For me at least. Clarissa said, that's a crazy experience. Albert said, but it's not giving up consistent. Perhaps. But I think there's difference. Because sometimes there might be a season where you're not consistent. By the way, don't not be consistent. I've done a live call every Friday this year. You guys have seen me blow my nose, eat brownies, eat different parts of the crib. I'm still going to get it in. I'm going to be consistent. Don't worry about that. But what I am saying is, I think never giving up is more important. If you could pass on just 3 pieces of advice to a new entrepreneur, what would they be based on your experience? Yeah, never give up. That's number 1. You can't be sensitive. And this is going to sound counterintuitive. Well, actually, let me reframe that. Ty Lopez said this. He said, to be rich, you can't be more than one of these 3 things. He says, you can't be stubborn, you can't be sensitive, and I think you can't be slow. He's like, if you have one of the 3, you can probably still get rich, all good, da, da, da. If you have more than one, you say goodbye to getting rich. And I'm not gonna lie, when I first heard that, I was like, Ty's just yapping, because Ty's such a good yapper. By the way, Ty, if you're watching this, you changed my life. I'm very grateful. I'd love to interview you again. Charge me whatever, like you did last time, with all due respect. But he's right. Because if you're too slow, well, someone that's faster will beat you. If you're too sensitive, guys, there's this meme on Instagram, and I think on Facebook, and it's like a picture of someone when they made their first $1 million, and it's this girl with like a bandage on her eye, she's bleeding, she's crying, her arm's broken, her chest is beat up, she's got patches all around her body, and she's got crutches, and she's still smiling. 1,000,000%, that's what it took to make your first million. It was so painful. You have to become a different, like your pain tolerance becomes like so high, and you just don't take anything personally. You're like, okay, someone hacked me, it is what it is. My best staff left, it is what it is. Someone took all my money out of my bank account, it is what it is. My parents hate me, it is what it is. Your girlfriend breaks up with you, it is what it is. Like you build such a strong tolerant. Alvin said that's how Davi is inside. I've still got a bunch of love, bro. Come on now. And I've got a big heart. But I'm just saying, like, the first million that all of you will make, and God willing, I want all of you guys to touch your first million as soon as possible. As Nipsey Hussle says, make $1 million while you're young. But the pain, like I get why the average CEO, as per Google, is 53. I completely understand. Because the emotional, you can't be sensitive. And at least if you're sensitive, by the way, I grew up an extremely sensitive kid. I used to cry in bathrooms in year 7. I used to get called fat nigga. I talked about this, fat nigga, blackie, right? Like all these things, like, you know what I mean? My male friends would like dip on me, whatever. Like, it was tough. And then it was a 360 within like a year and a half. And like, I'll get invited to the parties and like go out with the boys, and like the girls, like within a year and a half. But like, I was legitimately writing in my notebook. I need to find the notebook so I can read this out. And you guys can read the psychology of Dami at 12. I was a pussy. I'm not gonna lie. Super sensitive. But like, to make $1 million, I had to kill that old Dami. For real. But I cared for him. I had to protect him. But I'm telling you guys, like, you can't be sensitive, stubborn, or slow if you want to make $1 million. You have to be so embarrassingly fast where people are like, slow down. You're doing too much. This is too much. This is cringe. I have so many people that used to be like, oh my gosh, all the things you post so much. Or you talk too much online. Even to this day, Dami, why do you... But now they're like, how do you do it? How did you do it so young? Bruh, what you called cringe 5 years ago is what yields the results. You can't be stubborn, you can't be sensitive, and you can't be slow. I'm not any of those three, I can guarantee you that. So those are my 3 pieces of advice, Clarissa. Albert said thoughts on attention to detail. So there's something called prudence. And prudence is having a high attention to detail, essentially. It's being specific with things. Now, when you're starting out, you need a large velocity of speed because speed creates momentum. When you're starting out, you have 0. All you have is sweat equity. Get sweaty, get to work. Go out there, start talking to people. Shaking hands makes money, right? But what happens is you'll collate a certain amount of data to where you can now be like, okay, I see the pattern. I want to streamline this pattern. Like I told you guys, we run a multi-million-dollar per year company. I've woken up between 4 to 6 a.m. nearly every day this week to spend 3 to 6 hours a day coding. Why am I spending my time doing that? To collate the next data mine that can help my team push it to like $700K a month or whatever a month. Because it's no longer just about, hey, I can close a deal or my sales team can close deals. We know we can do that. We've already closed how many this month so far? 4, 7, 8. And this is slow. We should have closed more today. I'm disappointed. We've already closed like 13 deals this month. And it's not even halfway through the month. Right? That sounds good to you guys. But to us, I need to figure out, why can't we do 10 deals a day? What is physiologically, psychologically, numerically stopping us from getting to 10 deals a day? Well, my competitors aren't stopping me. I'm not stopping my team. My sales team leaders want to make 6 figures a year this year. What's stopping them? Data. There's some point of leverage. That's where attention to detail comes in handy. But when you're starting out, you need a shit ton of volume. Test, test, test. And be shameless with the testing. Alvin said relationship building. Well, everything is relationships, man. Making money, as Kevin Samuels said, is a social activity. Rest in peace to Kevin Samuels, a real G. It's social activity. Alvin, me and you have a relationship that spans back nearly 4 years, 3.5 years, right? Tony, who just joined in, what's up, Tony? Our relationship spans back 10 years plus. Worry Plaza library days, right? Studying after high school, relationships. But relationships, again, come from you putting yourself out there. Even if you look at Steve Jobs, Elon Musk, these guys are obviously introverted. But you don't see Elon Musk is friends with Donald Trump. I don't even think he likes Trump. But they're still homies. They have to be. Bro, it's a trillionaire. He has to be social, whether he likes it or not. You get what I'm saying? So like you have to build relationships. You have to go out there and do it. And that comes from frequency, touch points. They say that people have to see you 7 times online before they purchase from you. Well, what do you think it's like if you speed it up with real life human interaction? I think I'm doing an event. I'm doing a game show next Saturday, I think. I'm doing 4 game shows in a day. Oftentimes, the people that come on the game shows end up as clients. That's not even my intention. I'm trying to grow my personal brand. But they like the relationship. We have multiple conversations. They learn my opinions on things. It's just what it is. Keep it simple. Clarissa said, thank you, Dami. You're very lucky. Alvin said, indeed, you have a big heart. That's how you keep going. I'm not going to give up, my boy. I got your back. Let's get to the top. Clarissa said, how did you navigate your fears and doubts during the vulnerable early stages of your business for dreaming to be a businessman? You know what? It was hard. It was extremely hard. No bullshit. I'm not going to lie to you. It was hard. I started at 19 before business was popular. I started like 2-3 years before being an entrepreneur online was popular. So what I was doing was weird to a lot of people. I would post about multi-level marketing and business ideas in my year 12 forum. And they'll be like, oh, Dami does a scam now. Dami does a pyramid scheme. Now he's trying his next business. Now Dami lost his Christian ways. He owns a nightclub. Right? I've had criticism at every angle. And it started with my parents. You know what I'm saying? Friends saying, what's Dami up to now? It was cringe. Now they ask to be hired. And there's no resentment because that is the circle and the risk reward of the hero's story. If you watch the archetypal hero story, how the movie starts, there's a current reality. I've made videos about breaking down storytelling, guys, to a science, because you can use it to influence. So bear with me. The hero's journey, which is going to be your journey if you want to be an entrepreneur or make it to any level of success, sports, whatever. It starts like this. There's a current reality. The current reality gets interrupted by an unknown pain or an unknown challenge. It breaks the person down. Now they have to create new traits and attributes to fix their current reality, to create a better reality, and the better reality usually ends up better than the initial reality the movie started with. That's how it goes. For example, the movie The Incredibles. Okay? Mr. Incredible, Mrs. Incredible, Frozone, Real Nigga Frozone, everyone's vibing. Dash, the baby, everyone's vibing. Violent, everyone's chilling. And then Mr. Incredible traumatizes that little guy, the fat guy, and becomes bad, messes up his life. And he has to beat the guy, and he becomes stronger. Him and his wife become closer together. The baby gets superpowers. The whole family gets activated. Type shit. Right? And then you got to watch number 2, because there's a new level up. That's nearly every hero's journey. By the way, it's not different for you. It's not different for you, Clarissa. That's how you have to navigate your fears. You got to look at yourself as if you're already reporting the Netflix movie. I practiced this so many times when I was younger. I would talk to my ex-roommate from like 5 years ago. He'd hear me talking to myself. He's like, Dami, you're freaking crazy, bro. I was like, yeah, bro, just allow it. Don't worry about it. Yeah, man, look, it was tough. I couldn't afford a $5 Domino's pizza. And I wanted to pay for my broken bed. And by the time I wanted to, it was too late because I quit my job trying to make it with my nightclub business and my agency for the second time. And I was willing to pay, but then I got hospitalized. I had to go back to my parents' crib for 2 weeks. I was throwing up 8 to 10 times a day. Had to come back to the crib, look my roommate in the eye, figure it out. So like, screw it. I'm not going to fix this bed until I'm at 6 figures a year with a job. And it's going to become a monster of sales. I'm going to write on a whiteboard. I am the best salesman in the world. Everyone thought it was cringe. It was cringe. I remember even like people that I would see at the time, they would see that. I'd be like, you're like weird. Or like Yadu or my friends would come and like, You're a bit strange. And I'd pick like pictures of like a lion with like a female lion with the blood. I'm being real with you guys. Pictures of a female lion with blood on it. And I'd put the picture of it with blue tack next to my white. It was this whiteboard. Look at this. This is, I didn't even do this intentionally. This is my whiteboard for 2023. 3 million in assets, 100K followers on Instagram. We didn't hit 100K followers because my Instagram account got taken down, so I started again. But we got to about 50 or 60K followers, but didn't hit it, so whatever. Read 100 books, average 8 hours of sleep, 10 minutes daylight a day, more money, read 10 books exclusively on Christianity, average 30 points per game of basketball, move to a wealthier suburb, procure network, CB $1.3 million. Well, CB definitely cost over $1.3 million, I can tell you about that. Nearly everything else I didn't hit. I do not have $3 million in at least liquidatable assets, maybe in net worth, but not liquidatable assets, right? But I didn't hit 10 books that year. I didn't read 100. I didn't hit 100. But I still was creating the Netflix movie. You get what I'm saying? Like you gotta have stories to tell yourself. Anytime there's something in your head saying, I can't do this, that's someone else's story. You need to tell yourself more positive stories than bad stories. And people call that delusion. Well, I'd rather be delusional with cool stories than delusional with shit stories. I would rather be, because it's going to give me more energy. Stories give us energy. Stories give us life because it's how we receive communication. And when things are understood, we have more peace. It's ironic. When we're scared, it's because we're scared of the unknown. But if you repeat a story in your head so many times, well, I know how the story ends. I win. I always win in my story. I always win. I always win. Dead friend, I still win. Lose a business, I still win. Heartbreak, I still win. Injure myself, I still win. Because that's the end of the story, is always Dami wins. Clarissa have the same story. That's how you do it. Salute to you. Salute to you, my friend. Alvin said, crazy, I was 17 when we met from Kwasa. Now I'm about to turn 21. Bro, I hope we meet. When's your birthday? Anyway, we'll talk about that off camera. I hope I meet you during your 21st year. I think I will. Especially if we hit the KPIs we need to hit. But yeah, that's crazy. I met you at 17 up. You've always been a freak with content. All right, a few more questions. I love your mindset, sir. This mindset was forged through fire and thousands of betrayals. So I'm just giving you guys the shortcut. Self-control. 100. So how do you use self-control? Self-control, again, people over-glorify this. Like, people just like, control yourself. That's freaking hard. We're animals. We have reactions and traumas to things. So I'm not going to be like, just control yourself. But what I'll do with you is I'll be like, okay, so this instance led to this behavior, which led to this reaction, correct? Okay, so what could we do to substitute that behavior so that reaction doesn't come about? And then when that instance comes about again, we can use that new behavior. So for example, say I felt disrespected from a client that wasn't paying me money. My behavior might be spam call them. But if I'm thinking above, a step above the rest, because I might need the money to pay stuff, no worries. If I was the winner that I am, and I was a billionaire, I was with hundreds of millions, whatever, would I call him 5 times in a row with the same number? Or would I call him with a different number that he hasn't seen before and have him pick up and cut it straight? I'd probably do that. Why don't I do what that future Dami would do? New behavior unlocked. So that's how I look at self-control these days. I look at it as a sequence of tasks, of rewirings that I can rewire. I'm a coder of myself. God's the real coder, almighty to Jesus Christ. But, if God is a creator, then we have an essence of creator in each and every one of us. Because we're made in his image, right? So you can also write some wiring. But that's why it takes reflection. God didn't, he said, it took me 7 days. And for him, 7 days could be 7 minutes. It could be 7 years. You need to give yourself time to recreate. Distance, peace, tranquility. And then he rested. So you guys also need good rest. Another recommendation is get decent sleep. That's one thing I would recommend for you starting up entrepreneurs, because getting good sleep is actually important for cognitive ability. Right now, if I had to pick between working I mean, I already work kind of 14 hours a day still, but if I had to pick between working 8 hours a day, 9 hours of sleep versus 16 hours a day, 7 hours, even 7 hours of sleep, I pick 8 hours a day with 9 hours of sleep, 100%. Like, it's not even like a question. What sets your brand apart from competitors in your industry? And how did you establish that edge? My brand isn't that good. My brand is still quite young. I mean, because a lot of our intellectual property has been deleted or hacked, to be honest with you. But I think our biggest leverage is our company's, I'd say, unusually good at sales. And I think we have really good leadership in the company that allows our team to be good at sales. Like 90+% of my clients have come from cold calling. Not from me directly, but from my team. And we have over 100 clients that pay us every single month. By the end of the year, we'll probably have 300 paying us every single month. For retainers, all the way from a couple grand a month to a lot more. So you guys can do the maths, right? Albin said, you already planned the creative direction for the Netflix documentary since young. Since young, bro. Since young. Since young. To the point where I don't even want to do it the way I envisioned it. I want it to be like organic. Because I feel like it's even where I'm living, even where I'm about to move to, is way better than what I put on my whiteboard. But I'm telling you guys, it's going to be so much more painful than you think. So you got to have a stronger story than the pain. A stronger story than the pain. I'm telling you, I promise you guys. What's up, Tom? Clarissa said, I really appreciate your answers and thank you. Tom, I'll see you in a bit, my boy. What's up, Sean? What's up, Bentley? What's up, Akin? We got the gang here. Clarissa said legacy. Okay, then Clarissa, you need to get clear on the legacy. What does it feel like? What does it smell like? What perfume? What scent? Is it vanilla? Is it cinnamon? What scent? What does it taste like? Does it taste like hors d'oeuvres? For me, it tastes like brownies, peanut butter brownies. That's me, former fat kid. But I own that. You gotta own these things so you can paint a good enough story so it can outweigh the pain. People think I don't experience pain because I've got a big company. You try paying 100 people every month. Well, also, if your risk profile is, because I have a high risk tolerance, I'll also spend thinking that we're gonna grow by 50% every month, which is literally statistically like not how it's gone, right? So, you gotta understand, I had a friend of mine, he's like, dude, like, this is when we're doing like 80 to 100K a month, like, late last year. He's like, bro, like, you make run rate $1 million plus a year. Obviously not a lot more. Like, why don't you travel? And I'm like, bro, I love traveling, but like, I'm really driven by like complete autonomy, bro. Like, and I know it sounds like a bit chaotic, but I'm doing this to convey to you guys, like, the self-acceptance I have of myself is stronger than the judgment I have from my family, my friends, from even the emotions that I feel on a day-to-day. I had a conversation with a leadership person in my company. And we had a very heated conversation just about the direction of the company because me and that individual had some disagreements on a certain promotion. This is one of the many difficult conversations I had today. And maybe this is actually bad leadership of me, so I'm going to be very transparent. I said, I'm okay if you resent me. Straight up. I'm okay. Imagine you're a CEO. This is someone that like has significant influence over your company. I am okay if you resent me, not because I want you to resent me, but because I'm willing to make a decision that I think is for the betterment of all of us, even if you think it's a selfish decision or you think it's a wrong decision. I basically said I'm willing to be disliked by you. Now, at a primal level, I don't like being disliked. I'm not a sociopath. I'm a human. Again, I was very sensitive as a kid. I used to cry in bathrooms at 12. Teacher, can I please go to the bathroom? Yeah, sure, dummy. Crying like a bitch. That's still in me, but I killed it to protect it. That's why I understand that my story of autonomy is stronger than my need for self-validation. You have to have that clarity on yourself. Otherwise, you're going to let the negative story of your amygdala, the primal brain, win. My amygdala doesn't mean shit to me. Oh, I don't want to go to the gym today. I'm sweaty. I'm hungry. Most of my Quasar shoots are done on zero food and sleep deprivation. And they're 14 hours of episodes, 10 episodes done in a day with different problems, legal problems. Sometimes defamation, I'm not going to go too deep into it because my Instagram account got taken down before I mentioned it. I don't have to eat. I know that the story of we got a whole season done in a day is stronger than my body trying to survive and manage 100 people on an episode for 10 hours, 14 hours straight. I don't care. I remember one person that stunk so bad. It was like a Sydney shoot I did 3 or 4 years ago when I was like 22. And when my BO, like when I stink, it smells like weed. So like, I remember I was shooting on set for Kosa when I was like 22. And like, one of like the protagonist females, she's like, someone smells like weed. I just quickly walked away. But imagine if I was so like insecure that I'm like, oh guys, so let's stop the whole shoot so I can go shower, change my clothes from being sleep deprived because I had to get all the snacks ready for 100 people in a new city. We're going to stop the whole shoot. I'm going to come back. I said, I don't care if I stink. Let's get this thing done. Bali. I had Bali belly mid-season. I'm in Bali. I'm not going to stop the whole shoot. Dami, it's okay. We've already done 7 episodes. We've got enough for the half of the year. We're doing the whole season. Air freshener. Change my shirt. Dami, you okay? I'm good. Let's finish this. Please don't talk to me too much. I'm trying to log in. When you have a clear enough story, you can put, and I'm not telling you guys to be on some David Goggins type shit. You know what I'm saying? But I'm saying like, when your story is so clear, you can persevere and think big enough to get it done. Take my business away from me. I'll be back at 100K a month in 90 days. Because I'll just do it. Get the message. Legacy. All right, let's slowly wrap up. Alvin said, God gave us a purpose, not permission to quit. Turn me up. Sean, big dog, question for the people. If you could tell 21-year-old Dami 3 things that would fast forward him, what would it be? What would it be? Work for someone earlier. Like I was working for people since I was 18, 19, but I would literally like try to work for like King Kong or like one of the big agencies and just like I would annoy the crap out of like the founder. I'd study the founder, sit next to the founder, and I'd try to get rejected even faster. I think I did that pretty well. I got rejected a lot at 21. But I think by 21 I had the pattern, to be honest. But yeah, I would have stayed working for someone longer because every time I quit to go full-time in my business at 21, I ended up failing, which is fine. But I ended up failing to the point where, like I said, I nearly got hospitalized for the 3rd time. Like, I was not sleeping. I was still playing basketball at Melbourne Uni. I was still trying to make the NBA. I had like 10 different businesses, bro. I had a nightclub in St. Kilda. I had an event business. I got hacked from a guy that took advantage of me. I had an NFT project. I had a crypto project. I got hacked on the NFT project. I was on a broken bed. I was vomiting nearly 8 to 10 times a day when I pushed my... So like, I failed really quickly, which was good. But if I just worked for someone for like 3 years straight, I would have had the ability to consistently pay rent, not mess up my rental history, which is good now, thank God. It took 2 years to clean that up. So yeah, I would have worked for someone that knew what they were doing. And I would have just sucked it up and built my business on the side. And not let the ego of, I need to be working for myself. I'd just say, fuck it. Just fuck it. Fuck it. But I'm grateful because I have stories of failure. But like, man, like I really pushed my health, bro. Like back then. Now, like, you know what I mean? I got my drink. I got my water. I got my filtered water. You know, I eat pretty good. I hit the gym 6 days a week. But damn, like, yeah. That's what I would say to my 21-year-old self. What's up, Emily? Clarissa said, so proud of you. I'm proud of you as well. Aoife said, just had a call and you're still on. Let's get it. Turn me up. What's up, Kuchlo? Clarissa. What's up, Candy? Albin said, I like how you always laugh about the NFT part. Bro, NFTs, man. There's so much I could tell you about AI, but I'll reveal. Look, once we hit 500K a month, say we hit 500K a month in the next couple months, I'll talk about some of the plays that you guys can use that cost $0. $0. On some like finesse type stuff, but which can make you money, by the way. But I want to talk about what I know. What I know is marketing, sales, management, leadership. And on that topic, we're going to wrap right up. Sean said you wouldn't have had the wherewithal you have now. 100% I wouldn't. Clarissa said so much business experience, so much life experience. Business is a reflection of you. On that note, I hope you guys got value out of this. Remember to look into your traits and to look into your skill sets. What's up, Mahawi? What's up, Sharia? Look into your traits and your skill set. Alvin's going to let me know who the winner is today. The winner for today is Aoife. I'll message you right after the live and we'll send it. Aoife said Claude is my closest mate. It's my twin too. All right, Aoife, congratulations. Alvin's going to send over the money. All right, I'll catch up with you guys next Friday for your Q&A. It's going to be in a new location. Let's get it. One love, second half of the year. Let's take over. Let's go. Ciao.